Hey, it's your old pal Slim, and this is 70 Millimeter, a podcast for film lovers just like you. Every Monday, I chat about recently watched movies with my close friend and artist, Danny Haas.
Each shot of this house, I can't get over this house, period. I want this house. I want that sectional. I want it.
And our spiritual advisor and movie insider, Alexis.
We need a Tom Cruise movie every year that Colin Trevorrow puts out a movie just to offset the saving and losing of cinema.
Our featured discussion later in this episode is my pick for Lo-Fi Sci-Fi Month, Kogonada's After Yang. If you've been enjoying 70mm, consider rating us on Spotify or leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, as it helps new friends discover the show. Is After Yang the ideal therapy movie, or is it too contemplative to make a connection? Let's find out together.
Should we mention the Rings of Power on this?
Oh, yeah.
On the main show?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, everybody's listened to it, right?
The Rings of Power. I'm ready to reveal that was the biggest day in 70mm history. Rings of Power Monday. Should we pivot to TV, Proto? TV Insider?
Is there enough good TV out there to pivot? I think it's
There's
possible. No?
No.
I mean, we started to do The Sopranos. That's 5 years, right?
Oh my God. What if Sopranos? What if we did a Sopranos pilot season episode just for supporters? Can you imagine?
No.
I can't imagine. I've never seen
It's
it.
too hot. It's too hot. Gilmore Girls.
It's too hot.
I'd love to do Gilmore Girls.
Oh, now we're talking. Yeah.
Some Everwood action. Some One Tree Hill.
What about Supernatural? Wasn't that like
Jeez, that went like 12
CW
seasons.
X-Files? There's like 50 seasons of that show.
Smallville.
I don't. Oh, now we're talking.
Soph in chat, I demand to be on the Gilmore Girls app. That'd be fun.
Mm.
I remember not liking Gilmore Girls when I was younger because who was the writer of Gilmore Girls? Is that the guy who did
Joss Whedon.
Stupid.
bleeping that out?
You can't say that.
Was it Williamson? Or am I thinking of a different show? The guy who did Dawson's Creek. Danny's annoyed. Sorry. We need to move
I'm not
on.
annoyed. I don't know
He's not
anything
happy.
about Gilmore Girls.
Palladino, Amy Sherms. I'm seeing different names.
There's so many
Amy
names in
Sherm's
chat right
Palladino.
now.
Does anyone know anything about Gilmore Girls in chat? Amy Sherman Palladino. Enya. That's a musician. I think.
Oh, yes.
Rest in peace to the queen. Let's talk about Jaws in
Oh my
IMAX.
God.
Please. You went to go see it in IMAX, Danny. This had to have been religious.
It was religious on so many levels. My first time on the big screen seeing it, I don't think I'd ever caught a screening anywhere. And then I took my two oldest children with me to see it. It was their first time seeing the movie. And we went to an incredible IMAX theater here in Orlando, at Point Orlando. It's one of my favorites. And it was incredible to see this IMAX presentation of this film. And to get the reactions that I got out of my daughters watching this was even better. It's exactly what I wanted. They were covering their eyes, looking through like the peepholes of their hoodies. They were like tying them tight so they could barely see out. They were jumping at the scenes that were jump scares. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better viewing experience of Jaws. It was incredible.
Wow.
But yeah, I loved every second of it.
What did Casey think, your wife?
She still loves it. She says there's definite boring parts. So I had to add like some addendums to our papers.
What does she consider a boring part? Like
I
the
think just
conversation?
a lot of the townsfolk stuff
Shocking.
gets kind of draggy.
The mayor in his suits.
His suits.
Those suits on that beach, sweating their A's off.
Sweating their
Stop
cheeks
it.
off.
Sheesh.
The you know the opening shot though, right? The girl getting drunk and running into the water.
right.
I think my daughter's like, she was definitely naked. And I'm like,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
And definitely in IMAX, you can tell.
Welcome to Amblin.
the Amblin vibes we all love.
Drunk nude teens.
Oh,
Put
God.
that on the poster.
Yeah, right next to the PG or G symbol if they even had ratings back then.
Oh, man. Incredible stuff.
Prada, you didn't go to see Top Gun or Jaws in IMAX?
No, I would. You know what? All the people seeing these classic movies in theaters, I got to do it. I got to do it someday. I haven't taken the plunge, but I would love to get into a theater and see an old movie. I mean, Jaws, that's a great one.
Yeah. Take the Amblin plunge. You know? Got to.
Mm-hmm.
You took a different plunge, though, recently. Licorice Pizza plunge.
Oh, yeah.
Plunge in the.
Did anyone else see this review
PTA.
slide in to the Discord?
He slid it in.
Yeah, I've been wanting to watch this for a long time, and it popped up on streaming for me finally. So I was able to watch it. You know, Paul Thomas Anderson,
PTA.
auteur, master of his generation,
Some would say.
iconic filmmaker. A lot of great movies from him. So this was his most recent one, and Licorice Pizza. Yeah, you know, it's a strange movie. It's I guess people would call it maybe a vibes kind of movie.
Oh.
Not a ton happened, but I did enjoy the story that it told. For those who haven't seen it, it basically follows this high school kid, and he has a relationship with this woman in her early 20s, and it takes place in the 70s. And they're not boyfriend and girlfriend, all right? But some might say otherwise. And it kind of just like follows around in their adventures. And, you know, I love Paul Thomas Anderson. He just knows how to shoot a movie. So I wouldn't say like the story didn't really do it for me, but it was just everything else that was so enjoyable.
It got the Proto 4-star. That's anyone else's 5-star.
Yeah.
Really, if you want to do the math on it.
Do the math.
What'd you think of Alana?
It's hard to. She's like one of those actors where I feel like I need to see her in a different movie just to see how she would be in a different role, because this is the only movie I've seen with her. She's so particular in the way this character is portrayed, and I'm like, is this Alana, or is she just like embodying this role? So I'd be really curious to see her, you know, what she does next. I don't even know. Is she like trying to be in more movies, or is this kind of just like a one-off
I have no
thing?
idea. Not Proto. Ian, former producer of the show, could probably confirm if she has aspirations outside of this. But yeah, I agree. I couldn't tell if she was just herself or all just so into the character. But I did want to take her out for milkshakes after I was done with that movie.
Excuse
I mean, they
me.
had great chemistry, her and Gary.
Mm-hmm.
This kid, Gary.
Cooper Hoffman, Philip
Who
Seymour.
is this kid? Oh, is that what
That's
it is?
his son,
His
yeah.
hair. His hair was amazing.
Yeah, he was great. Fantastic in that movie. What else did you watch, Proto? Anything else?
Let's see. Oh, well, we both watched Year of the Dragon this week.
Oh,
Directed by Michael, how do you say it? Cimino?
Cimino, starring our boy Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke. I showed my wife some early pictures of Mickey Rourke in this movie and then more recent ones, and she didn't believe me that it was the same person.
Really?
Yeah.
I believe it.
Seeing him in this movie, like I didn't know a young Mickey Rourke. So man, he's pretty good in this. The character is pretty rough. You know, he's a New York City cop in Chinatown, kind of like running the team there, and he really wants to clean it up in there against the Chinese mob. And it's kind of like him just going toe to toe with the mob there. And I'd never heard of this movie, but then I can't remember. Did someone post it in Discord, and that's how we heard about
I think
it?
I posted it that I had added it to my watch list, and I was excited because it finally hit a streaming service. So it hit, when I watched it, it hit Criterion, and then when you watched it, it was on HBO Max. So it's making the rounds, finally. Mickey Rourke's career just totally fascinates me. Seeing some of his older movies, and he's kind of like a big-time heartthrob, but he got into boxing, and as the story goes, he just got his face he took a beating in boxing, and that took him down the road of like surgeries, and he's almost, you can check out his IG page. I mean, he looks very different from way back then. But he had like those big hits, like he had that like pseudo comeback with The Wrestler and stuff like that. So, but man, this movie was just overtly racist. I mean, his character is like literally the worst. It's insane.
Yeah, the worst.
And he's the lead, but it looks gorgeous. The sets are amazing. Like this movie looked extremely expensive. And this is the same director as The Deer Hunter and Heaven's Gate, which famously like ruined their career pretty much. I think this was the follow-up to that.
Remember when we were talking about doing Heaven's Gate?
That was a while ago, yeah.
I don't remember when that. Oh, that would have been the Blockbusted month, I think. Maybe.
Did we decide on the next theme
for October?
We're in September.
I mean, if you want to do an off the wall theme for October, we can.
Let's say hello to some new patrons that joined this week. Ben, Pocket Jazz, Mac, and Jason all joined this week. I mean, look at that photo in chat from Tim. Hunkville.
That's
Basinger.
Mickey Rourke?
Yeah, that's him from 9.5 Weeks, that sexy movie with Kim Basinger.
On the right?
All joined this week. Access to the VHS Village, Discord, chat movies, and the Queen. Rest in peace to the Queen. Okay. Get access to uncut episodes. We got about, uncut episodes, but also episodes in the VHS 70 millimeter vault. We got about 30 plus episodes just back there for everybody. Discounts on Danny's Prince. Do I want to talk about a movie? I do want to talk about a movie. I watched a horror movie for
which one?
Weekend watch list. I haven't logged it yet because I'm going to log it like a half star.
Oh no.
I watched Speak No Evil, which is like hitting limited theaters this weekend in New York City and LA. And then next week it's hitting Shudder.
Excuse me.
This movie.
Uh-oh. You're one-starring this movie?
I'm one-starring it. I had a miserable experience.
Oh my God.
As soon as a certain scene happened, I almost DNF'd.
Kid Gore?
Proto, I can't. I can't with these movies. I just can't do it. It's like an abduction, like abduction movies.
Oh.
But like this movie starts out, so it's a Danish family visits a Dutch family. They met on a holiday. What was supposed to be an idyllic weekend slowly starts unraveling as the Danes try to stay polite in the face of unpleasantness. Maybe my worst experience of the year. Maybe my worst experience cinematically in the last 5 years. It was just awful. It's like torture. It's like slow moving torture porn. I just can't deal with it. I want the director investigated. I want him put up on charges. Casey, this makes Fat Girl look like Little Mermaid.
Jeez.
So, I was like viscerally annoyed that I was watching this movie. Oh. So I'll wait until the PR dies down and the press people stop reading emails so that I can safely one-star this movie.
Be safe.
Admittedly, though, everyone else that has seen it is at least 3.5 to 4 stars. Ian has it at 3.5 stars.
Producer.
Let me read Ian's review. Is there anything more fun than hearing what's the worst that could happen 10 minutes into a horror movie? We also give out a free year of Letterboxd Pro every week. And this is related to our Rings of Power chat. This goes to Graham, who just won a free year of Letterboxd Pro. No ads, some stats, end of the year you can check out, find our movies are streaming. Said, thanks for that episode. I know it may only be for a single episode, but I've been desperate to find a decent pod of Rings of Power. Do you believe?
Well, keep looking. That was it.
I thought we did great. We did great. Is that it? Anything else? Anyone else want to spotlight?
I watched Top Gun Maverick for the 4th time in theaters.
I'm shocked it's only 4. I thought it was more than that.
If it's in there in another month, I'm going to see it again for my birthday.
What was this? What was it like you walking in there again?
So my mother's 66th birthday. I was going to take her on Mother's Day. Didn't pan out. She's always said that Top Gun's like her favorite movie of all time, etc. So we were coming into her birthday weekend. Casey saw that Top Gun was playing. She's like, you got to take your mom Sunday. And I'm like, I will take my mother Sunday to see Top Gun in the theater again for the fourth time. And when we got there, it was still a full theater. This came out in what, April? And we're still getting full theaters in September. And I sat there before it even started. I'm like, man, am I really going to feel like I felt the last 3 times? And yes, I did. Got the chills every moment. The music come in and I'm just like whooshed away again. This movie's incredible. I put it in my top 4. It's in my top 4 right now. It's going to be there for a minute. I love this film. I really love this film.
Robert in chat just called, I agree with this, Titanic for boys.
Titanic
Maverick
for
2.
boys.
Top Gun 2. Titanic for
what
boys.
if I like Titanic?
That's true too. Maybe like action Titanic. This is like more action oriented.
Titanic in the skies.
Somewhere, Casey, I thought Somewhere in Time was Titanic for boys. Art somewhere with a single tear going down his cheek.
Art's jumping off the back of the boat to hit the propeller right now.
What would happen if they released Top Gun again next summer?
OG or the Maverick?
The Maverick. Are they just going to make another?
Just don't take it out.
Money?
I mean, next year is Dead Reckoning Part 1. Right?
Oh my God, Tom's back.
I'm so excited. Just anyone who doesn't like Tom, just cool out.
We're sorry.
Skip ahead to after Yang. But man, I feel like his hardcore fans were like it for so many years because he had that Oprah stuff,
Mm-hmm.
you know, where he jumped on the chair
Mm-hmm.
and he looked like a fool for loving someone. Right?
You've been through so much.
And then he is mixed up in this Scientology business,
Mm-hmm.
alleged Scientology business.
Alleged mix up.
Show me the proof, first of all. And then now Top Gun Maverick, like he's saved cinema. He has literally saved movies. And then next year, Mission Impossible kicks up again. And now I feel like it's not just going to be the hardcore Tom fans going. Now a whole new audience will be opened up to Mission Impossible movies, which are, in my opinion, his bread and butter.
Well, yeah.
We need a Tom Cruise movie every year that Colin Trevorrow puts out a movie just to offset the saving and losing of cinema.
Christopher Nolan remember when he tried to save cinema by having people die in theaters seeing Tenet during a pandemic? Does everyone remember that?
He did more than me.
I forgot about Tenet.
Tenet, yeah. Oh God, I remember being almost alone in a theater.
And alone in your Jeep.
Yeah, I was looking through. I don't know why I saw this, but maybe someone like DM'd me on 70mm or my account. But like the most recent thing in our conversation was me doing a IG video outside of Tenet.
What?
Yeah, so I was like able to see like my old post, and I was like, man, I don't remember doing this at all.
What were you thinking?
I don't remember that either.
I think we were doing like a Tenet bit at the time. Like we
Not
were
us.
There was some definite Tenet bit vibes from the video that I was posting where we were all, I mean, that was like the big thing. It was like the first movie out since the pandemic had started, and we were like really excited. Right. Is it movie time?
Okay.
Someone's got to
Feature
start this.
Perezzo. After Yang, my pick for lo-fi sci-fi month. Not streaming anywhere, and I had no clue until we started to get some DMs and some @replies, but it's not even available really outside of the US still.
What?
Yeah. Some folks replied, said they have no way of watching it. They can't buy it. They can't do Showtime, which I was pretty shocked at.
Fire up LimeWire.
Get that spamware installed on your computer. Which is kind of a bummer. I actually looked at the wiki. I think this costs like $2 million to make it. I think it's made $700,000 after Yang. Theatrically.
Oh, no.
Woof.
Oh no,
something to think about.
Maybe they don't even want to bother putting it out outside of the U.S., which is kind of a bummer. So this is my pick. We're following this up after Somewhere in Time. Colin Farrell is the lead, but it's a Kogonada film. Proto, what is After Yang?
In the future, androids and clones live with humanity side by side. Yang is an android companion to adopted Mika. Yang helps Mika connect with her Chinese heritage until one day he stops working. But Yang is a refurbished unit, and in time it is discovered that he is much older than was assumed and had lived an entire life before. After Yang.
Proto has been doing a running joke in Discord. You're really pleased with yourself. You did an elaborate Photoshop with a bang can entitled After Bang.
Yeah, it's poetic. There's something about it. I just can't get enough of it.
Were you just like chuckling to yourself in your attic, putting that together?
My gosh.
Did Jenna have to come in and ask if you were okay while you were laughing?
Mm-hmm.
When we were getting into it a little bit more, there it is for everybody in the chat again. I just couldn't get enough of what I had created here. It's just very pleasing to me, because it's like After Yang and Yang's on the cover, but then you put a can of Bang in front of Yang, and then you swap out the Y for a B and you have After Bang. And it makes you think, like,
Incredible
what would
stuff.
this story be?
Yeah.
This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard on this show. And we just talked about our tenant bits from 2 years ago. Lordy Lord. So Kogonada, director, a very diverse cast. Full disclosure, I put this in my top 4 last night. It's in there.
2 top 4 pivots.
Wow.
Incredible.
Where to start? So
You have to start. You got to talk to us.
I'm
Where did you first see this?
I watched this for Letterboxd. It was a screener. I can't remember why I think maybe I was still early. Let's see, it was March. So very early on I think there was a lot of like Letterboxd buzz happening. Like in the Letterboxd Slack, someone will have seen a movie early and you kind of like can get an idea of like, someone will say like, this is going to be like really big, or there's already like some buzz happening, and you kind of like see it before Twitter kind of gets a hold of it. So it's pretty fun to have access to some early viewings of those movies. And I think this is like when I first started really trying the screening game. And listen, let me tell you something. I'm fortunate to get access to screeners, but man, watching screeners can be a really difficult experience. Like you'd think like, I just want to like stream this to my TV. Like I'll fire this up. Some of them block that. Some of them like don't even let you cast the movie onto your TV. And if they do, it's whatever like subpar resolution that you get on your laptop. So it's still like not great. Luckily, some people like connect it on Vimeo, so you can kind of like AirPlay it right from there.
Right.
So I just like gave up, and I'm like, I'm just laying down on my couch and watching this on my laptop, as it was destined to be. Kogonada, sorry. And I had an amazing experience, and this hit, kind of like at the right time for me. It was a really difficult end of year for my family, so this was like a really therapeutic watch. Had either of you, Proto, heard of this movie outside of maybe like Letterboxd?
I honestly don't remember. It might have, it just might have been when, maybe when you watched it, there might have been some buzz around it. I know Kogonada. I haven't seen his movies, but I was familiar with Columbus and stuff that he's done before. But that was really the extent of it for me.
Yeah, I saw Throwbridge someone dropped a Columbus review this past week.
I'm going to.
I still haven't watched that yet. Danny, what about you? Any buzz?
The only buzz was from whatever was posted on Letterboxd, and from you, that was about it. But I knew I'd wanted to watch it because of how much I have really vibed with Colin Farrell these days. After recently watching Sacred Deer and The Lobster and his work, and I mean even the Batman, his run of movies recently have been he's incredible. So of course this has been on my radar to watch eventually.
Yeah, I'm glad we were able to do it on the show. And I previously had compared, I jokingly said this is going to be a big pick, and I compared it to quote big picks. I should come up with a different name for big picks, namely like emotional picks. Like Babadook, Annihilation, and Roma were like the episodes that really jumped out. And
therapy picks.
Therapy picks, that's a great way to put it. And I like appreciate and love that we have this like platform to have like those picks, because a lot of people maybe aren't watching them, or they don't have a platform where they can talk about therapy picks. Like I feel like it's a net positive to have these kind of experiences. So if you're new to the show, we usually, as we watch the movie, we jot down 3 things, and then we go round table until we go through all of our main points and give our final thoughts and letterbox ratings. Where to even start? I don't think I want to cry off the bat, so I'll change it up.
I'll go first.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll take that from you. I'll let you well up. Let's talk about the sci-fi in this. That's one of my favorite bits about this movie is the setting and how subtle the sci-fi is, even though we're set so far in the future. Everything about this movie feels obtainable. And it just kind of feels real. It's not, Casey was talking to me about it afterwards as well. There's not a sterileness to this type of sci-fi. Everything is warm. This house I wanted to live in. And I was impressed with that. Like I almost forgot for a while that this was in the future and that we're really dealing with like an android type situation, because the character of Yang is played almost like there's no bits about him that are like an android. So he's very human like. And so I almost forget that he has that android bit about him. And so I just kind of fell in love with a lot of the sci-fi aspects of this because of how subtle they are in this film. It's really impressive. The digging through the memories is one of my favorite stuff. How they portrayed that as like these little bits of light, almost galaxy-like, dipping into each galaxies of these memories of Yang through his past. And I was just kind of in love with that a lot.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I like how the science fiction aspect or like the future is very integrated, like Danny was saying, into everything where, like it feels very attainable. There's nothing that's shocking us, like hitting us over the head. It's more of just, it's very subtle in the ways, kind of like we have FaceTime, we have video chat, but the way that it was kind of ubiquitous and everywhere and easily accessible. And there was almost like no interface. It was just like all just happened. That felt like very futuristic. And then even something like the self-driving cars, but just the way that it was not even like, oh, this is a self-driving car. It was just kind of like an afterthought. Like this would be just completely normal at this time. Felt good. And it was so consistent throughout the whole movie, just how all of those things came about. It was very thoughtful. And I wonder how that even came about in terms of like writing this script, but you're also like writing the script, but then there's so many fine details to this, to how the story is constructed or just the world is built. I wonder what that process looks like when it comes to like just creating this movie.
Yeah. And though I had one of my notes, but was about the cars as well. It's like they chose not to show us the entire vehicle and not to show the highways, not to pull us out of, because I feel like it's purposeful that the subtlety of the sci-fi, because if I'm seeing these highways of pods of self-driving cars, I'm going to be pulled out of it. I'm thinking of the future again. I'm not thinking of the small story that's being told inside this family. So I think it's a very conscious decision to keep these very futuristic ideas at arm's length.
Yeah. The phone call audio, I wrote that like all of the audio video calls were the loudness level of her on the phone in the car It just like surrounded you. It was like ambient noise. She was just ever present. And the video calls, I didn't notice until actually this viewing that the aspect ratio changes several times. Like during the video calls, during some of the memories, it went like full widescreen on my TV, no black bars, and then the 4:3 for the video calls. Yeah, it reminded me of, what was we never did 2001, but I think at one point we talked about 2001's video calls, or was it Solaris? I can't remember, but it just felt like normal in those older movies. And their video calls just felt so grounded. And like you said, it didn't take anything out of us. It didn't kind of like hit us on the head with the technology. They didn't need to show like this wide shot of the car in the tunnel for like, or like slowly bring the camera into it. It was just so broken down and quiet in that way. You could say the whole movie is really. Part of what's your number one?
My number one is kind of similar. So yeah, it's about like the vision of the future. And this movie, it reminded me a lot of, I think it's Spike Jonze's Her. Have either of you guys seen that?
Yeah.
The Joaquin Phoenix. So that has like a similar vibe in terms of like a very thought out vision of the future. In that one, like hipsters win and define our future. In this one, it's like the vegans win. And they define our future. And I couldn't get over it, how like everyone is wearing hemp tunics in this.
Gorgeous.
Like all they make is one size fits all tunics, and you get your your linen pants on. Then you spend your days brewing tea. Cars are now add-ons to your walk-in terrariums. I mean, it's like every aspect, like we were saying, it's so integrated into everything in the life, but it's as if it's like everyone is of this lifestyle, or it's kind of, maybe it's like, oh, well, this is where they live and it's just like that. But I do like to imagine that like somehow it's like vegan domination and like this is just the way the world works everywhere rather than just this one community.
Yeah. I was waiting to see what you thought of Colin Farrell's drip in this movie, because I feel like I could see you wearing 99% of his wardrobe at any given moment. Like his baggy pants, he had what looked like a piece of long cloth just wrapped around his feet. They were like Toms, but they were somehow evolved Tom boots. And
self-lacing Toms.
It was like the Back to the Future high tops, but they were Toms in this universe. But his clothing, I couldn't get past his clothing. It's so relaxed the entire time. My God, he looked like the most relaxed person on the planet. Would you wear his outfits, Bruno?
Well, it's a good thing Jenna fell asleep, because she would probably be in love with this, and she would have been looking for clothes to order me. But I mean, if I let myself go and give her full control, this could happen to me. That's right.
You could be him. My number one, I think I'll touch on, like we say vibe a lot, but this movie is definitely a vibe. And Art touched on it a little bit in his review about how he kind of like was waiting for the other shoe to drop in terms of the climax of the movie. Like he was waiting for him to uncover some video of an affair or duplicity, he calls it, or some sort of like a crime to be the root of the movie's drama. But that's not it. And a lot of people call this kind of like a meditative movie, and some of our friends watched this and they gave it like 3.5 stars. I couldn't really connect with it. And it is a very strangely paced film. You know, it's, I think Kogonada also is known for like visual essays, and it almost could be considered that, where a lot of this movie is just Colin Farrell watching memories and having feelings internally that he's not really conveying verbally about like the life that he's passing by. And towards the end of the movie, you know, it's just that conversation with him and Mika, and the movie just, they say one line to each other and the movie just ends. Yeah. And you're kind of like left to think about how you feel about what you just sat through. And I wonder if you either one of you had a similar experience about just how different this movie felt, Danny.
I will say, coming into it, I had seen a couple Letterboxd reviews, especially how you've responded to it as well. A lot of catharsis comments and how very cathartic viewing of this. And so I was wondering how this would affect me. And I will say I didn't get to the point where I was affected emotionally by the story, or was this any sort of cathartic view for me? And one of the things that I did like is how it starts. I think you had just said something about Colin, how it kind of starts with Colin. He's already down. Like there's something about whatever is going on with his life, and they never really address it. But there's something about the way he played that. I fell kind of in love with his whole vibe for this film. But yeah, I was those reviews. I wasn't connecting with this on that level.
Yeah, I thought there was something going on between him and what's his partner's? Is it Kira? Is that the name of the character?
Oh, Jodie Turner-Smith.
There was like an undercurrent of something going on in their relationship that wasn't ever like the spotlight wasn't on it. It just kind of was there. Like you could sense it. And I thought that was like conveyed really well. I've been thinking about this idea of how movies can remind me of music at different times, and just like the way that they're structured. And this often comes to mind when I think of movies where people say it's like a certain vibe, because all the elements of music you can kind of relate in terms of like there's verses and choruses, there's rising and falling action, there's changes in rhythm, there's harmony, there's dissonance, and like you can relate all of those things to movies. And I feel like a movie that feels like a vibe in the way this is, I feel like it would be equivalent to like an instrumental piece with like one instrument that's just playing one long chorus on repeat and like never deviates. And that's what this feels like to me. The most recent movie that I can remember feeling similarly is Patterson by Jim Jarmusch. Have you guys seen that?
No, but I remember your rave review about that, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. I really connected with that movie. I think because of the character Adam Driver plays, it felt very relatable to me. In this movie, I feel like I did, like kind of like Danny said, I don't think I had like that strong of a connection, or like I wasn't feeling that same empathy towards any of these characters, like in a strong way. I don't think it really hit me in that way.
Yeah, when you were talking about music, I can definitely agree that like if you play a song for somebody and they don't connect with it, then they're not going to connect in the next 2.5 minutes of that song. So the same could be said for the next 90-minute movie. And
then it's like the worst 2 minutes of your life suddenly listening to this song that you love.
What did you think? And then you're like, it was fine. Oh, shit. Danny, what's your number 2?
Number 2, Benjamin Loeb's cinematography in this film. I was drooling the entire time at the visuals of this film. Each shot of this house, I can't get over this house, period. Yeah. I want this house. I want that sectional. I want that in my house right now. But one of the things that that was done quite well is the shots kind of lingered long on empty spaces. And I don't know why I found that fascinating. I know they're just trying to convey this sense of something missing or something lost, and I was getting that. But his visuals in this film were incredible. I was just this is one of those films where every frame can be put up on a wallpaper, on a computer or something. And I had to look it up, and he did the cinematography for Pieces of Woman and Mandy, which I thought was fascinating that he did that for Mandy as well. So I thought this movie is gorgeous. It really is. And intentional too.
Pieces of a Woman. Man, I love that movie. I gave that 5 stars. That was pre-Shia negativity, I think, when he kind of really ruined it for himself there. How about the one shot of Colin at a stairwell in his tea shop looking like in an alley, and there was this curtain behind him, and he had his hand at his back. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was maybe the shot of the movie, and it's just Colin standing there. It doesn't hurt that Colin is like one of the sexiest men in cinema in this movie. Like, he looked fantastic the whole freaking film.
The cinematography, it reminded me of Wong Kar-wai. There was like a lot of shots that would be from maybe like the outside through walls or portions of the structure of the home that like broke up the image. It was very voyeuristic in the way like Wong Kar-wai does his movies as well. So I felt like that was similar. I did feel that there was. Oh, and another thing he did that was interesting is that there would be like 3 people in a scene, and like 2 of them would be talking, and he would focus on the person that wasn't talking, that would like be staring out into space. And it felt very much like just a reference to those moments where Yang is recording a memory, where it takes him 5 seconds. It's like his memories are 5 seconds long, and he would stop and just kind of stare. And you could tell that he's recording a memory. But just to see humans do that as well in the same way that he did was an interesting just way to relate just the similarities.
We haven't really touched on it too much, but the storyline of them adopting Mika and then buying a android to assist with like Chinese culture. And I read in one review that I didn't get from this viewing, but there's like, I guess, an underpinning that there's some kind of event that happens where America is responsible for adopting many Chinese immigrant children. And that's why there's like this strong need for these androids, which I guess I missed on both viewings. KK says there's clippings of a war on the text wall, this 60-year war, which I thought was fascinating. And we haven't touched on it. I'm not sure if anyone has it in our 3 points, but the idea of like Asian identity in this movie has like, I've seen a ton of reviews where what it means to be Asian, I think even Yang, and there's many conversations about this. What does that mean? So there's so many different areas of this movie that like someone else can make that connection to. And there was a quote from Kogonada that I read that I liked, where he's talking about how there's like this misconception or stigmatization of Asians that get like cornered into a certain kind of role. And there's no like expectation that they're anything different. He said, I'll be honest, the conversations I have with Asian people are often existential and philosophically complex. It's a community that's really consumed with these deeper questions, but I've almost never seen that in cinema, which has really simplified the Asian dialogue. So there's a ton of different threads in this movie that are pretty important.
Yeah, my number 2, I love the conversation about just what makes us human. I forget what's said exactly, but it's just this idea that, in this world, there's now clones and what they call technos, which Yang is, and they in every way appear to be the same as us. Like, but so they're the same. They're the same in some way as us, but what is like the difference between us that sets them apart from being human? Of course, it's like, well, he's an android, he's a machine, but is that part of being human not really relevant anymore? That you are, flesh and blood, if you're a machine and you're relating and communicating and living in a society where every other part of you is the same as a human, so what does that mean to be human? Or at that point, when you get to a point where, you have, we're creating things that would be so similar to us, like, would we then think of ourselves in a completely different way where it's like, well, being flesh and blood might not be so relevant anymore. And then it's like, well, then what are we? So just like that conversation around that was interesting. And I really wish the movie spent more time talking about that. There's a lot of cool ideas in this movie, but they kind of all get, partial time within the story that I really want. I just wanted like more time exploring these ideas in the scenes. And not as much of like Colin Farrell looking sad.
But man, he looked great when he was doing it.
Yeah, he looks amazing.
There was one scene where Colin was talking with Ada in the car, and he asked, did Yang ever, I think the line was, I'm paraphrasing, but he's like,
I mean, did he ever want to be human? What?
Nothing. It's just, that's such a human thing to ask, isn't it? We always assume that other beings would want to be human. What's so great about being human?
what's so great about being human? Like, what's the difference? Why do you always come back to that? I love that. I love that. It kind of just, shut Colin up a little bit. And that kind of question can come around in many different ways with this kind of diverse cast. The lo-fi sci-fi nature of it almost like prevents us from thinking deeper about it. Like it's almost kind of meant to be that way for better or worse.
I also really liked every individual kind of conversation that Yang was having at the time. So when he has the conversation about butterflies with the mom, and he says,
What the caterpillar calls the end, the rest of the world calls a butterfly.
Just like, I've never heard that before. That's amazing. But then even the conversation about tea that he has with Colin, and how do you taste all the things, and just incredible conversations that I can just kind of melt it into, that I just want to sit with for a while.
Yeah, I also felt like when Yang asked him about the taste, where Colin almost said like he couldn't taste anything. I mean, I thought that was a great little insight into where Colin was.
Yeah.
Maybe for quite some time. Yeah, his relationship with Jodie, there was a few times where like Colin is out and about for a few days trying to fix Yang, and she's getting frustrated, and he finally asks like, are we okay? And it's like almost obvious to the viewer that like you two are not really okay.
Definitely not.
Like you need to have a little bit of a chat at some point. My number 2, the digging into the memories of Yang and Colin, having this kind of like realization. This is like the main thing that I really connected with the movie, of like digging into someone in your family's like their memories, their like literal core memories, and the way they repeated in all those scenes, like especially in the tea scene where you see conversations happen and then it like plays a different way. They say the same lines differently, but it just is mixed into that scene. And I've never seen that before. But in terms of like remembering certain moments with loved ones, you kind of have like a different sort of memory of how that went. I thought that was so powerful. But digging into Yang's memories and Colin like realizing that like he's been distant, he's been like missing his family. He's been missing these moments like, oh, here's that moment where I didn't do X, or here's that moment we were having fun.
Right.
And that scene where Yang is taking their picture and Colin is like, what are you doing, Yang? Come on. And that plays like 4 or 5 different times with different, line readings or whatever. And at one point it like shows Yang kind of just like, he wasn't like, being late. He was absorbing that moment.
Yeah, he was recording the moment.
He was taking it in. And he's like, in anyone's life, like I've done this before, and there's multiple times, maybe too many times, where I haven't taken in, but like you look at a moment with your family and you're like, this is one of those times. Like I'm so lucky, or I'm so grateful. And you could see like Yang doing that. And then Colin's realization that like, I've been separated like all these years. Like this is what I've missed. And Yang was experiencing it, while I wasn't. The moment where Yang looks at himself in the mirror. Like, I can't get over that scene. I just absolutely cannot get over it. And I started like, so this watching, I started to really like break down when he's first going through the memories and he sees Ada for the first time. And he has no idea who this is. Like someone who's so important in his life knows someone, and potentially he has this entirely different personality that he's just not been able to connect with. And he's just seeing these clips for the first time. And like, that would have just been like destroyed me. You know, like I've been just so out of this. Like, I can't believe it. But just the unfolding and like the digging into the gamma memories, the beta memories, where he did live that other life, you know, with the real Ada, her great aunt or whatever, great relative. I just thought that stuff was just incredible. Part of what you think about the memories repeating in the flashbacks?
Well, with that, I hadn't thought about this, but do you think the idea is that like when the clone Ada came to him, did he know who she was? Like, did he have access to those old memories, or were they like stored in a way that like he wasn't even aware of that? But then she came to him and was like, no, you were a part of, you know, my family with my great aunt, you know, you lived a whole life with them. Or when he saw her, did he know? I hadn't really thought of that.
My thinking is he didn't know, but he was drawn to her almost in, oddly enough, similarly to Somewhere in Time. But there was that kind of like pull because he like hung, remember those clips of her, him just like watching her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she didn't know, but maybe at some point he did. And that's why he like just wanted to spend more time with her. I don't know. Dan, what do you think?
No, I don't really have an idea of what that could have been. I just felt, from my perspective, watching it for the first time, that they just somehow got together again. It was like they were just meant to be, for sure.
Oh, well, just so the idea that he doesn't know like those old memories he doesn't have access to. What I do love about that is that's that's our experience, because there are those moments where you're like, you don't get to, you know, your kids are doing something or whatever, and you're like, you don't get to whip out your phone, and you're like, oh, well, at least I was just there in the moment experiencing it and enjoying it, and you live through it. But you, like, now there's so many moments in your life where you have no memories of those things. Like, there's probably things that happened that at the time I was like, oh man, this is so great. This is like, if I could have a highlight reel of my life, I'd want to include this. But now they're like out of my memory. Like I can't even recall. I know there's things that happened that I can't even recall. Or it's just like, oh, that was a really good day, but I can't bring a single image to my mind as to why that is. So I think like that experience of Yang, of like having these forgotten memories that make up who he is, and that in some way he would still know her somehow, is really compelling and relatable in that way. I also loved like that when they do those scenes where it's basically the same moment playing over, but it's as if they're two different memories or just a different way of perceiving them. I thought that was like brilliant. The editing in that was so cool. It was just like so fitting and worked so well and was so seamless. Like, so much of this movie is so well thought out and just flows so well.
But did you catch too? I didn't catch it on my laptop. Resolution was too low. But Yang crying when he's having that conversation with her about the afterlife, and it was when she asked him that question. Does it like make you sad?
I'm fine if there's nothing in the end. Are you? Maybe I was programmed this way as well.
Does it ever make you feel sad?
There's no something without nothing.
Asuka Matsumaya's score for this film is incredible. I listen to it all day today. And I love when sci-fi pairs this kind of piano, synth, kind of very lo-fi. I mean, this is very lo-fi stylings for this film. It really, I think that connected me the most to the scenes that I'm watching, because it's some absolutely beautiful stuff. And I listened to it. I think I listened to the full album like 3 times today. I just couldn't stop listening to it while I was working. And she hasn't done much, and I just hope that we can get some more from her in the future.
Dynamite music. I was listening to it all day today too. Spotify.
You're welcome.
Yeah, this is like, this hits into that like area that I always talk about, where like the visuals and the audio just hit in the perfect way. And she's a huge contribution to that for sure. Proto number 3.
I love so many sets in this movie. So you said this, what was the budget for this? $2 million?
Something
$2 million was spent on that sectional couch.
I mean, if I remember correctly, that is someone's like real house that they were able to rent.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, its budget is like 9 to 20 million, so I guess it's never been officially released.
Okay, maybe half of that was used on the memory scene, which really is visually
gorgeous.
stunning. God, yeah, I would love to see that like up on a big screen. Just the way that was put together, so cool. I could have that as like a screensaver, or like just like an hour of that would be amazing. But yeah, there's so many sets in this that are so cool. I love the mechanics workshop that they go into. That's what I mean. And like, there's so much. The way they were so thoughtful to make everything not so overtly futuristic, but just enough, or just unfamiliar enough to make it so that you're not sure. Because that mechanics workshop probably could be like exist, today in that form, and probably does. But it's such a cool room that it works so well. I've been just like thinking about that, of like how much that can like change a movie, of like people who can really just like, you choose where you're going to, shoot everything beforehand. And in every scene for, every part of this movie seemed just like so well thought out to be cohesive for the whole thing. And I was really impressed by all that work.
Next lake house trip for us. Maybe
Excuse
we'll go
me.
to the afternoon.
Down to that house.
I was thinking in my head of
The Yang house.
formative memories. Remember that sunset
Stop.
last year? You talk
What
about
a sunset.
You talk about a formative memory. God.
Core.
And we'll be doing it again in 2 weeks. God bless America. Danny, final thoughts, honorable mentions, and
Did you give your third?
oh, I'm sorry, I skipped right over myself. What is my third?
Figure it out, Slim. Bring us home.
Them coming to the realization towards the end of the movie about what they want to do with like Yang's memories, like, he eventually connects with this woman at the museum, and she finds out that it's, that a techno-sapien can record memories, have lives, have that happen. It's like a revelation at this point in society. So they have to make a determination. Do we want to present him, put him up like some of these exhibits? And they're not sure what to do. And then like later in the movie, I mean, just that scene where they take Mika to see Yang, and he's like on that, he's like kind of propped up. I mean, every one of these scenes you have lived through at some point. Them walking through the museum, deciding what to do with someone you lost. And the quote, his existence mattered, not just to us. And I just like crumbled during that scene. So that's my number 3. Danny, what's your honorable mentions?
Honorable mentions. Let me think. One thing that I was happy about that I thought was going to unfold in this film that didn't was when he is at the mechanic's shop and it's like, this is spyware, this is Big Brother, this is a big corporation. Honestly, I was happy that didn't turn into this we're going after the big guys scenario, because that would have changed the entire feel of this movie. When it comes back that the chip that's in Yang is this test thing where he's controlling his core memories and what he wants to save, and almost like a human experience. I was really happy that was the route they took with this story, because I felt like it was about to pivot in that moment.
Yeah, you almost like feel like he might take Yang at that point. Like,
I was like, something
worried,
sinister is about to happen.
Can we not take our sweet boy Yang?
Yeah,
at this point?
yeah.
Let's not get dicey here.
So for me, as I said at the beginning, I didn't connect with this as a sort of cathartic viewing, but as a lo-fi sci-fi movie with the visuals, the storytelling, Colin Farrell, the music, this is easily a 4.5-star movie. I mean, it could bump to 5 later viewings, but this really is a great movie, and there's only a few things that kind of pull it down for me, but it really is a good time.
Leaving himself open to the post bump. 5-star post bump.
Post bang.
After Proto's ready to paste that after bang,
This after bang.
PNG already.
Finger hovering.
Proto, final thoughts. Letterboxd rating.
Final thoughts. Was there anything that we missed? I feel like we really talked about everything. Yeah, just the thought of like where else this movie could have went. I didn't really feel that way at any point, because I felt like the tone was so consistent that I just didn't I had no expectation that this was going to turn into some kind of conspiracy or like some real downer moment or like turning really dark at the end. It felt so earnest in the way that the story was communicated that I didn't really imagine that happening. Like I said, I didn't really connect with it totally either in terms of like what the story was communicating. I feel like I'm getting more out of it now. Definitely, there feels like there's a lot of depth to this movie, but it's very subtle, and I think you could watch it multiple times, and it sounds like Slim is like you got like different things out of it with each viewing. So I could definitely see that. I don't know, and I don't know if I love like. Just like Kogonada's like his style in terms of like how he shot this movie. I actually I didn't love the acting, but I don't think it was like the actor's fault. I just kind of felt like there was just it's just like some weirdness, or like there wasn't a lot. It didn't seem like a lot of chemistry between the characters for me. So it was kind of hard for me to get into it, but I love the ideas of this, and I love the lo-fi sci-fi aspect of it. So I'm at 3 stars.
3 stars for After Yang. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what terms to describe Kogonada's style in this movie. And we've mentioned like meditative, but like, I don't know, there's got to be some other descriptor where it's almost unmovie-like. I don't know how to describe it. Maybe we'll come up with something before next episode.
It made me really want to dig into Columbus, though. I do really want to watch that film.
Yeah. I think my only other honorable mention was I do want to call out too that like the only characters in this movie that realized Yang was something more were the Asian characters. No other characters really knew that or could understand it at face value. I thought that was really important. I also just like how they brought up clones, like Colin Farrell apparently had some kind of deep-seated issues with clones, which never really was investigated. Ada's reaction to being asked if they were together. I just love her reaction to that. She makes like a little noise and kind of just still leaves everything very vague. Also, we didn't really talk about like the over-reliance on technology for parenting, really. Like they're relying on Yang. Yang could be a step in for any kind of piece of technology, an iPad, for God's sake.
Yeah.
They relied way too much on Yang, and everything is kind of failing because of it. So 5 stars. Obvi for After Yang. I'm glad it exists. And yeah, you're right. This is a movie that can just hits at the right time. For me, especially. So I'm glad this movie exists. And this is definitely going to be like a yearly watch for me. After Yang, Danny's pick is next for next week. Pro, do you have any guesses?
No solid leads this week.
No,
Nothing.
no solid
Your
leads.
sources have come up empty for Danny's pick.
I mean, Danny needs a big rebound. Let's be honest.
Let's tone it back. Let's pull it back.
All right, so we have a letter to read this week. That's not it. 70mmpod@gmail.com. Jace is asking about time crimes. Listen, Chuck voted. Chuck made the decision not to do time crimes.
Chuck has removed time crimes from all of 70mm.
It doesn't exist anymore, Jace.
This comes from Bradley. Thank you for continually putting together a great show each week. This has easily become my favorite podcast due to Danny's brilliant art and infectious laugh. Proto's poetic summary of each film and Slim's humor and skill as a host and producer. Thank you. I'm bummed I couldn't attend the recent meetup, but I hope you will consider another in the future on the West Coast area near the Bay. This past weekend, I saw Jaws in 3D at the theater, and oh my God, it was fantastic. Hope you all get a chance to see the masterpiece on the big screen. Hot take, 3D is pretty sick when done right, and I think they should enhance more classic films for this format. If you agree, what are your favorite films that you think would benefit from the conversion to 3D? Best regards, your loyal listener, B-Rad. P.S. This is the original Jaws from Steven Spielberg that recently put back on the screen in 3D and IMAX. Didn't want it to get confused with Jaws 3D. Although I loved your recent podcast, that film is complete dog shit. The original is a classic and they should never have made sequels.
Oh.
I didn't realize that they were doing 3D screenings of the OG Jaws too. Or the OG Jaws.
Yeah.
Also.
Incredible.
Like, how does that even work? Am I an idiot? I don't know. Like, what would be in 3D?
Yeah, hours.
It would just be like a depth of field type situation. Have you ever seen a movie like that? I
don't think I've gone to see a movie in 3D that was not filmed in 3D.
Yeah, so one of the Potters in 3D that was more of like a depth of field type 3D, and it was incredible.
Proto, what movie would you want to see in 3D?
An old classic?
I feel like something, well, you want like something, I guess, like moving at the camera, wouldn't you?
Yeah, maybe.
So maybe some kind of like dogfighting movie, or a Star Wars would look good.
You're saying Top Gun Maverick?
The first movie I thought of was Mad Max Fury Road, but I don't know if like that would be good or not.
Can you do black and white 3D? What does that even look like?
My art the last couple weeks ago.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's how Hitchcock wanted it.
Psycho in 3D. Oof. The Birds in 3D. Wings 3D. Trainer. My God, that's a deep cut. Does anyone even know that we covered Wings on this podcast?
No one's gone back that far.
First 4 months or something way early.
Sheesh.
Not sure if anyone listened to that episode.
It's fine.
The Birds in 3D sounds pretty cool. Danny was talking about that poster, that Birds poster. I'd love to do the
Paul
Birds
Mann's
for this
poster.
show.
We can figure it out.
My dinner with Andre.
Those wine glasses piling up, getting more and more depth.
Graham, who I think won the free year of Letterboxd Pro, sent a DM that Graham was listening to the Somewhere in Time app, and Music Box Theater in Chicago came up, and he says that would be epic. They just had a Stephen King Film Fest all weekend. Stand By Me for the win. Stephen King. Yeah, there's been some buzz about Chicago. Some Chicago buzz.
Some buzz.
Bustling for meetup talk. I don't know. We haven't really talked about it, so everyone calm down first. All right. Is it time?
It's time.
Lo-fi sci-fi Danny's pick.
I have wanted to do this movie for a while on this podcast. It falls perfectly into this month. And what also it falls perfect with is it is the opposite of Proto's movie, in that love is a crime in the future. And so what we're going to watch is a movie that Budget
What?
was like $700K. And we're doing George Lucas's THX 1138.
Oh.
Now it's a rental. And we're going to have to probably watch the director's cut from 2004 because it's almost impossible to watch the original theatrical. But I'm very excited to do this for the show.
I was wondering about this movie when we were watching that Light and Magic show. THX 1138. Visit the future where crime... Sorry. Visit the future where crime is the ultimate love, is how I would have said that with dyslexia. People in the future live in a totalitarian society. A technician named THX 1138 lives a mundane life between work and taking a controlled consumption of drugs that the government uses to make puppets out of people. As THX is without drugs for the first time, he has feelings for a woman and they start a secret relationship. Holy smokes.
THX.
You're going to go so hard on the art for this episode. Sometimes I wonder if what Danny's picks are really just related to the art. Like what percentages I'd love to do art for this.
Something to think about.
Wow.
I've only ever seen this once, and it showed on Letterboxd that neither of you had watched it, and only Proto had it on his watch list. So I figured it was time. This fits into our month. I don't know what other month we could fit this into, but here we are. 86 minutes, 1971. It's in Proto's wheelhouse. The 70s.
The 70s. They're back again. This is based on a short that he did, right? He turned it into a feature. Is that accurate?
Film that he did. Then it got turned into a feature. It's based off of a novel. I forget the entire title of the novel, but yeah.
Man, look at these posters. Holy cow.
Coppola produced it.
Some of these posters are nuts.
Some great stuff. Even the THX 1138, like the title prompt, is what Lucasfilm Limited still uses for their kind of stuff these days.
Yeah, that's cool. Whew, what a pick. Excited. Love a good short movie. Oh, boy. What a month so far. Rings of Power, lo-fi sci-fi. Rings of Power, the ultimate lo-fi sci-fi television program. Any closing thoughts as we prepare for THX 1138?
Oh man, I hope everyone can go out this week and make a core memory, something to remember, even if it's just a few seconds, you know? Gosh, you love those moments. May we all have more of them.
See everybody next week for Robert Duvall and George Lucas. $70mm is a tape deck production featuring original artwork provided by Danny Haas. Spiritual guidance and V'ger, the robot who loves movies, provided by Pertalexis. Producer at large, Dale_A. Transcripts provided by Sophie Shin and music composed by Cinematric. Prints and other merch are available on 70mmpod.com. This episode was mixed, edited, and produced by me, Slim. Support our Patreon for access to our VHS Village Discord to talk movies with new friends, access to our exclusive episodes in the 70mm vault, discounts on merch, uncut episodes, and a physical membership card mailed to you. To check out other Tape Deck podcasts, find the link in the episode notes. And if you'd like to support our friends at Letterboxd and upgrade to Pro or Patron status, you can do so with a 20% off discount using the links on 70mmpod.com. Goodbye.
This is a Tape Deck podcast.
I wanna be. I wanna be. I wanna be just like a melody. just like a simple sound, like an harmony.